Sup, ladies and gentlemen, Ackland here, and of course, welcome back to each and every one of you. I've been made a fool. That's right. I have been made a complete and utter fool by Blizzard. The title is not hyperbolic, I promise. There's actually a lot that I want to say about this. Yesterday, I made my reaction video to the new Black Dragon aspect that was revealed, and I thought it was an amazing moment. It was really well captured. I thought the cutscene was really well done, very emotional, very sort of raw, and I'm still going to do an analysis probably tomorrow on that cutscene. But I said something after my reaction that I think got a lot of people a lot of tongues wagging, let's just say. And what I said, I think I should take the L here, right? Because I said that the switch from Rathian and Sibelian didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It just felt very instant, very like, because Emberthal said a couple of lines, now Rathian and Sibelian suddenly realize exactly their mistakes, and now they're going to back Abyssian as the Black Dragon aspect. What I didn't know, and perhaps I should have known this, is that a lot of that story, a lot of that progression, that character progression, actually took place in the raid, which, of course, I didn't know. So I want to talk about all of that, and I want to, right off the bat, say I will do a better job in the future of making sure that if I haven't done the raid, that I at least check out the raid, or at least read the voice lines within the raid to make sure that I'm not missing something. Because I read the boss lines, but I never actually focused on, the in-between dialogue between Rathian and Sibelian, because I didn't think that was gonna be necessary, and that is absolutely 100% on me. Before we get going, though, I want to give a massive shout out to all of the patrons, the YouTube members, and of course the Twitch subs. Without you guys, I would literally not be here. So more on how to support the channel and all the things you get at the end of the video. Okay, so Blizzard, this is perhaps the first time ever, by the way, that Blizzard have hidden an entire chapter behind the raid, and that is important, and I want to explain why that's important to me. I'm not a raider.
What?
Right, I don't raid anymore. The last time I did normal, heroic, or mythic was at the end of Legion. Since then, I have not raided, and it's been time, really. It's been my biggest issue. I don't have the time to actually raid, and I realize there's many people that do it and still make content and all the rest of it. For some reason, I just find myself very hard pressed, and it creates a lot of stress within my environment. It really presses me to try and make content, but then also raid. Perhaps that's a failure on my end, and it's something that I should try and solve, try and figure out, but I don't raid. One of the reasons I don't raid is, up until now, you were perfectly fine for getting most of the story just from playing the quest lines. Most of the quest lines, as well as the cutscenes, would tell all of the story. In previous raids as well, most of the story was done in cutscene format. So if you watched the cutscenes, you'd get all of the information that you could possibly need from the raid. This time around, Blizzard seems to have taken a very different approach. This time around, there's dialogue that happens as the raid is going, because Neltharion's visage is showing you, basically escorting you through the raid. And as time goes on, both Sibelian and Rathian are starting to realize that what they thought Neltharion was is clearly not what Neltharion was. They were completely wrong in how they perceived Neltharion. I, of course, didn't know that because, like I said before, I haven't done the raid, and that is completely my fault. But then there's another problem that I have with this, and that is that there's an entire chapter that you can only access once the raid is done. So you have to do the raid in order to access the chapter. The other problem is that Aleph R only opens up next week, so all casual players are sort of stuck now, waiting until next week in order to play the game, because, reasons, I guess. I don't quite understand the reasoning from Blizzard, and while I'm fully aware that as a content creator, I should have been on top of this, I want to speak for a second, not as a content creator, but as a casual player. there are plenty of people in World of Warcraft that love PvP, right? And they want to be the best PvPers out there, and that's a perfectly fine way to play. There are plenty of people that love to take on the hardest challenges that the game have to offer and beat those challenges, be that Mythic Plus or be that raiding, and that is a fine way to play. But there are also plenty of people that don't do any of that, that prefer to just play the story, or maybe they like collecting stuff, maybe they just like being in the open world, they like doing world quests, and they like sort of exploring and doing puzzles and jumping puzzles and all the rest of it, and that is also a fine way to play. That's the whole point of playing video games, right? Is that you can play the game in whichever way you wish. With Blizzard hiding the entire Chapter 7 behind the kill of Sarkareth, and then also it will only open up next week for those of us that are super casual with our WoW playing. It sort of creates this forced system where everyone will have to try and get into a normal raid at least, unless the story gets spoiled for them. Because that's what actually ended up happening here. For a lot of us that have been waiting for the Alifar to open so that we can experience the raid, the story has already been spoiled, because without it, some things don't make a lot of sense. And I do think that at its core, I can understand why Blizzard did this. I do want to make that clear. I understand full well why Blizzard decided to do this. It was ultimately, Blizzard wants to include the story more in gameplay. We've seen this all throughout Dragonflight. It's been something that Blizzard have focused very clearly on, is to bring more story into the gameplay. However, in this specific instance, I do think that it's a little bit of an L. I don't think that you should have giant portions of the story locked behind the raid. I don't think that you should have small but important details locked within the raid. I think it's fine that the raid has a story, and I think it's fine that the raid sort of connects to the story, but I don't think it's good when the raid tells an integral part of the story. The transition and the acceptance of the character progression from Rathian and Sibelian is an important one, and it's not as if the previous 6 chapters didn't give Blizzard enough time to do that character progression outside of the raid, right? It could have happened. There were more than enough, let's call them hero moments, in those 6 chapters where both Rathian and Sibelian could have absolutely come to terms with the fact that they are just not ready for it. And while there was character progression in those 6 chapters, by the end of the 6th chapter, neither Rathian nor Sibelian were anywhere near accepting anyone other than themselves as the aspect of the Black Dragonflight. And I do sort of think that that is, it's just a bitter pill to swallow. Maybe it is just my fault. Maybe I should have just done the raid. I don't enjoy that level of gameplay anymore. I don't like the idea of getting 10 people together to try and kill a bunch of bosses and then have those people fail and it just being a nightmare, and you can oftentimes feel like you've wasted hours of your life if you get a really bad group together. And I don't want to do the whole guild thing, because it's a lot of work to be in a guild and to be because when I do join a guild, I want to be a productive member of that guild, so I will put a lot of effort into that guild, and I don't feel like at this point in my life it is something that I want to do. And I don't think I'm alone on this. I think there's a lot of players that feel exactly the same way that I do about this, and I mean, I'm not making excuses for myself. At the end of the day, I understand why Blizzard decided to do this, and I love the fact that there are more stories. But I do think it... Well, firstly, let's not equate two things here that shouldn't be equated. The story arc and the character progression arc, that's one thing that I would have wished wasn't in the raid, but I can understand why it was in the raid. It just made so much sense for it to be in the raid, and that was absolutely my fail on not paying attention to what was happening in the raid. But then the chapter being locked behind the raid, that is just, in my opinion, that should never happen again. So Blizzard, if you're watching this, please never again. Do not leave entire story chapters locked behind the raid. There are many of us that don't want to do the raid, but now we're forced to do the raid because we can't get to that chapter without doing the raid. You've done so many good things in this expansion, and I really want to see those good things continue, but I don't feel like this is necessarily the way. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I just wanted to get that off my chest. I wanted to take responsibility for that failure because it 100% was a failure on my part. I hope you guys can forgive me. Let me know in the comment section, how do you play the game? I would love to know. Do you play as a casual, or do you play as a hardcore PvPer or hardcore PvEer? What is your preferred style of play? And then, if this video was of any value to you, if you enjoyed at least seeing me take the L, please hit the like button. I would really appreciate it. It does help out the channel a ton. The more people that like the video, the more views the video get, and that would be awesome. I would love you a lot for that. Thank to all of the patrons, the YouTube members, and of course the Twitch subs. Thank you so much for all of your contributions. It just makes my life so much easier. Without you, content like this would absolutely just not be possible. So if you want to get access to hentai and podcasts and all the rest of it, please sign up. It's literally $1 a month and you get access to everything. So I don't think it's that much. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Please be kind to each other, be good to each other, and I will see all of you in the next one. Peace out, fam.